Hey YouTube. Wait, that's not YouTube. Maybe someday. Hey guys, here's how we're gonna mix paper mache paste. If you do this wrong, it can be a huge mess. So you want to make sure you follow these instructions carefully. So you've got this very suspicious looking bag, and it's super powdery and will get all over the place if you're not careful opening it. You're going to want to start with a gallon of cold water. So you can mix this in a bucket if you've got a bucket. Hopefully you have a pitcher somewhere in the kitchen that can help you measure out a gallon of cold water. If you don't have a bucket, you can also use the pitcher to mix the contents right in the pitcher. Okay, so we're gonna take our suspicious looking bag and these nice sharp scissors. We're just gonna cut right below that little red closure. Now they say to dump the whole bag in at one time, but I've never had good luck with that, so we're gonna slowly pour the contents in the water. I like to use my Happy Kool-Aid stir stick, but you could use a ruler or a paint stir stick or just about anything similar. Big spoon works well. Now the key is here to start stirring the water before you even start putting the powder in. And then as you put the powder in, keep stirring. Now you can probably see that it's kind of clumping up already, and that always looks pretty terrifying and problematic, but it's not. Stirred more than I need to. See, you get some bubbles, you get some of this nasty stuff. Now what we're supposed to do is just leave it alone and put it off to the side for 15 minutes. You can leave it longer, but you don't want to come back and touch it before 15 minutes are up. So here we are, actually about an hour later. They recommend 15 minutes. A half an hour's plenty. You really can't wait too long, but what's going to happen is the top is going to kind of coagulate a little bit, and some of the stuff will not have dissolved. So we're going to give it another good stir just to get that stuff kind of back down in the more liquid with the higher concentration of water down there at the bottom. But already it's getting pretty goopy. We're going to leave this alone. For about an hour, and it will be usable. By tomorrow morning, this should all be clear. There might be some little white undissolved specks, but it just kind of miraculously dissolves. If you try to push it, it's not going to work very well. See, there are still some pretty big chunks, but all of those by tomorrow morning will be completely dissolved. Now, once 15 minutes are up, you're going to come back and most, if not all of it, will be dissolved. And it will look something like this. It's just a clear gelatinous goo. It's really fantastic stuff. I would dedicate a pitcher or a gallon milk jug or something that has a lid on it or a cap where you can store that, because we're going to be using it a lot. I have a little bottle of this stuff already prepared, so you'll want to have a jug to keep it in or a pitcher, and you'll also want some kind of flat pan. The very best thing I've found to use is like a plastic shoe storage container. It's kind of wide and long, open, and it has a lid. You don't need anything quite this big, but if you have one of these, they're perfect. A smaller, like Tupperware container, you'd want it to be at least this big, I'd say, in order to be able to dunk your paper into it. But I'm going to go ahead and pour this into the container. And it's pretty goopy, but it's amazing. And I'm going to set that off to the side for a little bit. The other thing I wanted to go over early on with you is how to cut down those paper towels into usable form, because we're going to be using these to paper mache. Now, this seems like a really tedious process, what I'm doing here, but it's really, really helpful. So if you'll just take a small handful of these and kind of unfold them and just lay them out so that the little peak side is up. So they're all going in the same direction. Some of these will stick together on you, which is not all that fun. But if you have them peak side up, it's going to make this a lot easier. All right, now the goal with this is we're going to want to get this into smaller pieces so that we can use them to paper mache. Okay? So now that I've got it like this, what I'm going to want to do, I want to tear it in half, just kind of guesstimate where half is, and I'm tearing from the folded side, not from the open side. Much easier to tear it from the folded side. This is the folded side. Okay? And then just do your best to kind of keep it straight as you tear. If you prefer scissors, you can do that as well. That works pretty nice. And you should have a nice pair of scissors in your bag of goodies. Okay, now, so we've got all these strips, and we're going to want to open those up. And you're going to want to cut right along that outside seam. So we have a nice stack of rectangles, and then we're going to want to cut those in half. So we have a nice stack of squares. Okay, we're going to do that with all of these sets. But you can do that on your own. I won't waste your time on that. But I do want to show you this. What we're going to be doing first is paper macheing a light bulb. Okay, I don't recommend doing paper mache on your cutting mat. Get a piece of cardboard or something where you'll be able to protect both the tabletop you're working on and the cutting mat. It's no fun having paper mache paste all over the cutting mat. I have some of these lunch trays that work really well. I gave everybody a light bulb. Your light bulb may or may not look just like this. It's all I had at home. These are pretty nice. This is the old classic incandescent light. It has sort of a classic shape. And what we're going to do is just cover this light bulb with paper mache paste. Okay, so I'm going to put my paste right out here. And with paper mache paste, it's really important that you get the paste on both sides of the paper. So we dip it in there, we get some paste on the front side, get a little on the back side, and that way it will stick to the surface you're putting on, and then the subsequent layers that you put on top will stick well as well. Okay, we want to put it on nice and smooth as possible. Make sure that front side's covered, the back side's covered. Okay, it's going to have some wrinkles, but you want to brush out as many of those wrinkles as possible. This stuff will dry nice and tight on here.
And wherever it starts getting thick and janky, just kind of unfurl it. Like here's a little blobby mess, so I can just lift that up and flatten it out. And I've got so much paper mache paste on there now that I can really just lay this one on top, because it is super gooey. I'm putting a second layer on here. If you've never done this before, no worries. You'll get the hang of it. This stuff is very forgiving. The key is just to smooth it out. Oh man, I can't see what I'm filming, so I hope we're within range here.
Okay, we're just going to put that aside, and it'll take a couple hours to dry. But when it's dry, the paper towel will pull nice and tight on the surface of the light bulb. Okay, and it'll take care of some of those wrinkles. Some wrinkles are actually kind of cool. I try to flatten out as much as you can, but the wrinkles will actually give it a little bit of a texture, which will be kind of nice.